Hey guys, Matt Montanez here again with another plugins in-depth video. And because that track with Beast Boy, kind of went viral last night, I decided to do a video on this plugin I used on that track, and it's the EMT 140 by UAD. It's an incredible reverb. I love it. It's my favorite reverb today. It sounds amazing. It's crystal clear. And the best part about it is you get 3 different variations of it because there's 3 different plate models of this reverb in this one plugin. When you first open it up, you got an input filter, you got plate select, your timing for your reverb, a stereo section, EQ, modulation, and then you got your blend section here. In the input filter section, it has 2 different colors here, as you can tell. There's a black section, and then you got your red section down here. And in this black section, the reason why this section's black and this section is red is because in the 3 different plate models, you got A, B, and C. And the A and B are modeled after the original EMT, and the C is modeled after the aftermarket version by Martech. And it's still a full frequency reverb, it's the aftermarket one, so that's your C. A and B, they use the input filter from the black to 80 hertz. So when you have A or B active, which it'll highlight when it's active, then it'll dip down 4 dB, 10, or 16 dB at 80 hertz band. It'll do a shelf there. And if you have C selected, then it'll do the red section, which is a 12 dB dip at one of these bands. So that's why they're 2 different colors, so you know which one you're using. So keep that in mind. A and B is the black section, and C is the red section on that input filter. And it's really cool to use, to drop those low end on the reverb before even doing any processing. So it's really cool they added that feature. Then you got your plate select, which chooses from A, B, and C, and you only can have one of them active, of course. So you can choose your A plate, B plate, or C plate. All of them sound great. Just mess with them and check them out. Try them out. See what it sounds like. See what you enjoy. So when you select it, then of course it's going to highlight in the reverb time. So this is where you control the timing of your reverb. Okay, it goes from half a second to 5.5 seconds. And if you hit the plus or minus, it's going to change by 0.1 seconds. Or you can grab the needle and move it up and down, however you want it. And that's really cool about this reverb. Then you got to power switch actually, which I didn't mention. And on this power switch, all it does is basically bypass the reverb plugin. And when you have it off, it's going to reduce the DSP power a little bit. So keep that in mind. When you have it on, then it puts it back to normal. But if you're not going to use it, you might as well just inactivate it to free up all the DSP power from this plugin. Your stereo section's a little tricky here. For the width, starting off with the width, basically that's the full width stereo image of the reverb, and bringing it down reduces that image. So when you add it to 100%, it's not adding any kind of width. It's just saying that's the full width you're getting with this reverb, the 100% amount. And then if you bring it down, then you're just narrowing the width of the reverb, okay, that image. Then you got a balance section, and the balance section is not a pan knob. It's not like, hey, I'm going to put the reverb only in the left, I'm going to put the reverb only in the right. It does not do that. What it's actually doing is it levels out the 2 sides. So if one side has more reverb than the other, then using this knob from left to right, then it just levels it out. Really cool to keep that in mind. Then you got your EQ section, and in your EQ section it has a low frequency and a high frequency shelf. And you can tell by the little illustration there, that's the shelf, what it's doing. And it goes from low frequency as 20 hertz to 2000 hertz. High frequency goes from 200 hertz to 20,000. And that's good to keep in mind. Then you just boost it with a minus or plus 12 dB. Turning it on and off does not reduce or even add any kind of DSP power. So it does not matter if it's on or off to add it. It's just if it's off if you want to bypass the EQ, or on if you want the EQ in. Okay, which is out. That's why it has this illustration with the little dot out of the circle, or if you want it in, that's why it has the dot inside the circle there. Then you got your modulation section, which is really cool to make like cool effects and stuff. And you got just 2 knobs, which is your rate and your depth. The rate is the timing of the modulation, how fast you want it to work, and the depth is the amount of how much you want in there. And that's cool to keep in mind. And if you get it like punching really hard, this reverb, and it's like, oh man, it's giving me a ringing sound, you can mess with the modulation actually and get that ringing sound out of there. So keep that in mind. That's really, really cool to use, especially when you have this beautiful plugin that has that slight ringing. Mess with the modulation a little bit and it'll pull it out. Then you got your pre-delay in this blend section, and the pre-delay is from 0 milliseconds to 250 milliseconds. And the pre-delay is the timing between the dry signal and the process signal. So that's what's cool about it. 12 o'clock is 50 milliseconds, max is 250, and 0 is all the way off. Then you got your mix knob, which is your dry and wet signal. And with this active, this wet button, what that is doing is it automatically adds it 100% wetness. So then it bypasses this. This won't do anything, so it'll be non-effective. So you need to tick that off, and then this works. 12 o'clock at this is actually 15% wetness. So keep that in mind. So all the way straight up is 15%, and then that's adding it to 100 there. Really cool stuff. And then you just got a VU meter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my preset on the one that I created.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before. Before you go, you ought to know I won't be catching feelings. We ain't.
Alright, now I'm going to bypass it so you can hear it without.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow.
So of course it doesn't have that sense of space anymore, so I'm gonna bypass it and add it, or mute it and unmute it so you can hear it. Instead of hitting bypass, I'm just hitting the mute button.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go.
Really, really cool, okay? So what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to slap these into pre-fader mode. So when you actually hear it, you're just going to hear the reverb instead of hearing the vocals actually with it. And that's so you can hear the actual sound of this reverb and why I chose it, why I love it, and why I thought it sounded great for this track. And let me mute the music.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go. You ought to know I won't be catching feelings. We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow.
So right there, you can actually hear the 3 different tones of this reverb, and all of the settings stay the same. I'm just switching between the plates, and that's from A, B, and C, and you can even see the timings are all exactly the same right there at 2 seconds.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow.
So you can hear A is a lot brighter, and that's actually why I chose it, because I was thinking more of a pop song reference. So, you know, it's a little bit brighter. So I went, one way, I'm going to go with the brightness of the plate, and then B slightly darker than the A, and C to me is just a little too much cloudy, and that's probably why you have all these bands to dip from in the input filter, and that's just to thin it out a little bit, which it still sounds great, but to me it was just too much for this track. But I'm gonna play it again so you can check it out, and I'm actually gonna move the input filter this time.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go. You ought to know I won't be catching feelings. We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go.
So as you can hear, the C really is a lot fuller than the A and B plate. But I like the A. I thought it sounded great, and I actually felt like it didn't need that input filter, which you can hear what the input filter is doing when I moved it up and down and stuff. It really dips out a lot of that low end. So from here, let's move on to the stereo width plugin, so you can, or the stereo width section, so you can hear what it does.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before.
And you can really hear what it's doing in that section. And let's mess with the EQ a little bit.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go. You ought to know I won't be catching feelings.
Just the basic EQ, but it's really cool because you can really push this EQ and it just sounds cool. Like it really changes the tone of this entire plate reverb and it sounds great. Let's mess with the low modulation a little bit.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before you go. You ought to know I won't be catching feelings.
And lastly, let's mess with the pre-delay a little bit. But the way we have to do that is we actually have to put it back to post-fader mode so you can actually hear the original vocals coming in and how the reverb actually reacts to that.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before. Before you go, you ought to know. I won't be catching.
So it's really just making it sound like, okay, the reverb is giving it a delay effect with that pre-delay, because that's what it's doing. It's just a delay. All right. So let me put these settings back and let me play the jam a little bit more.
We ain't gotta keep this on the low. Don't do it fast, we can take it slow. Show you things that you ain't seen before. Before you go, you ought to know. I won't be catching feelings. We ain't gotta keep this on the feelings. But she got me catching feelings. I can't be catching feelings. But she got me catching feelings. Pull up, pull up, pull up. Now we cruising in the wind. She.
And I'm going to play it a little bit in the verse now so we can actually hear the verse just on the single vocal where it's not layered like that. And let's mute this this beat again.
Pull up, pull up, pull up. Now we cruising in the wind. She just couldn't wait to get out.
And here's with it bypassed and unbypassed.
Pull up, pull up, pull up. Now we cruising in the wind. She just couldn't wait to get out. She texting all of her friends. Pull up, pull up, pull up. Now we cruising in the wind. She just couldn't wait to get out.
And like I said, it really adds that sense of space. Really cool. It's clear. It's not overbearing. And it sounds great. And I got that bad boy going at 100% there. And the send's going about -8. But it still sounds great. Like, I love it. It really sounds great. It's a great sounding plugin. I highly recommend it. Just this one plugin alone made me feel like my UAD investment was well worth it just for purchasing this one plugin. All right, guys. Hope this helped. I hope you guys dig the song. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button below. Shout out my man Chizzy for writing this record and producing it and everything. And keep creating music, guys. Take care.